The New York Knicks have pulled off the most improbable comeback in NBA history last night. They were down 29 points at half and they won. It was one of the most insane comebacks I think I've ever seen. And so I'm going to give you guys my thoughts and analysis on the game. And if you stick around, I'll tell you who I think the MVP was, in my opinion. So let's get into this. Honestly, I think a lot of this was the Spurs got off to an even stronger start than they usually do. Like, they always got the first quarter on the Knicks, but this time they genuinely set the NBA Finals record for most threes in the half of an NBA Finals game with 14. And some of this had to do with the Knicks just not being connected on the perimeter and allowing open threes to come up, but they were also just not missing their shots. They were shooting at 65% from the field at halftime. So, honestly, when I was watching the game, I was kind of figuring they weren't going to keep that percentage up because 65% as a team for a half is just unreal. And I didn't really think that they were going to keep that up for the whole game. And a lot of what let the Spurs get going was Karl-Anthony Towns had the two quickest fouls in the NBA Finals since 1998, and he took 2 fouls in about a minute 30. So he ended up sitting most of the first quarter just to not get into foul trouble for the rest of the game. And some of this also let Ariel Hukporti check in for the first time in these NBA Finals because the rotation moved from Towns and Robinson to Robinson and Hukporti. So he ended up getting some minutes, and he wasn't bad, but he was just a non-factor. You could tell he was a third-string center. And some of this had to do with Wembanyama getting in Mitchell Robinson's head. He ended up hitting a tough fall-away shot from the low block, and he had a lot of points up until that point, and he ended up going back, and while he was passing Robinson to go back on defense, he ended up staring him down and saying, "Hey, I'm in your head, man." And Robinson ended up shoving him, getting a flagrant for it. So I guess he was in Mitchell Robinson's head. And Stephon Castle also got some foul trouble later in the game. He had 4 fouls early in the third. And that allowed the Knicks to really get going, in my opinion, because Stephon Castle is the best player that the Spurs have to guard Jalen Brunson. So when he's sitting for an extended period of time, you get someone like Brunson into a rhythm, and he's not going to get out of that rhythm easy, even when Castle gets back on the floor, because now he's feeling it. He's going to start pulling more shots. And this was the closest time in this series that Brunson got to that 50% shooting mark. He was shooting 48%, 36 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists. And I think this was the first time since late in game 1 where he had that 11-0 run by himself that he really started to feel it, and he was able to find his spots on the floor and cash in on it. And because Towns sat most of the first quarter, he ended up taking a little bit longer to get into a rhythm himself and open up more of the offense. He ended up starting to feel it later in the third and early in the fourth, and that kind of carried through the rest of the game. But yeah, when you get Towns going later in the game, it's not ideal that he's just getting his shots later in the third quarter. There was a point in the third where he had 3 shot attempts for the whole game, and a lot of that did have to do with, like I said before, the fact that he was sitting most of the first quarter. So, yeah, and also Wembanyama got a flagrant against Towns because while he was trying to move the ball, he ended up elbowing Towns in the head. Now, the reason I bring this up, Wembanyama has 3 flagrant points because he got the 1 this series, and then he got flagrant 2 in the second round when he elbowed Naz Reid in the head. He could be suspended for Game 5 if they call the flagrant in Game 3 where he tossed Brunson to the floor, because if you get 4 flagrant points, it is an automatic suspension for the following game. So that's the only reason I'm bringing this up. I personally think that Wembanyama deserved to get the flagrant for Game 3, but I'm not going to tell y'all what to think. I think that's up to you guys to figure out. Also, Landry Shamet had another quiet game. I don't even think he got any points, and if he did, it wasn't really anything significant. I think that Linsanity run where he was averaging like 60% from 3, I think I think it's kind of over, and I think it's Jose Alvarado starting to take over a little bit. I mean, Alvarado had 8 points tonight, but it was when he got those points that were very important. It was when they were trying to get that comeback in the fourth quarter. Alvarado started to turn it on. He got a couple of threes, and he was contributing to that comeback. Also, speaking of that comeback, De'Aaron Fox, he could have ended the game. Honestly. Brunson missed a shot and it went back into the front court for the Spurs, and De'Aaron Fox picked it up with about 10 seconds left. He could have just ran away from Anunoby and dribbled it out, and that would have been the game. Spurs tied the series at 2. But no, he did not. He decided to go for a layup and got blocked by Anunoby, who would end up getting the game winner, who had 33 points, 7 3-pointers, and the game winner with that massive tip in at the end with 1.2 seconds to give the Knicks a 1-point lead. And also, when they got that and the Spurs had to inbound it at their end with 1 second left, Karl-Anthony Towns tipped the inbound and forced Castle to pick it up off the floor, and the Knicks played good defense to not let him get an easy look, and the buzzer sounded before he got the shot off. Knicks win. They have a 3-1 lead in the series. I can't believe that game was real. So who's my MVP? I think it goes to OG Anunoby, no question. He made the play of the game. That's going to be a play that's remembered for years to come, with him just flying in and tipping the ball back into the basket. I don't know how that game was real, but it was. So, I'll see you guys for Game 5. Let me know what y'all think in the comments.